Back in the saddle for Lulz with Brian Hooper. I'm Peter Overzet. Today we're going to talk about a new DFS portfolio management tool and also some gambling updates. Lots of things continue to happen on that front. Like I said, I'm Pete. This is Lulz. Let's do it.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.
All right, Brian Hooper, welcome to Lulz. How we doing today?
I thought we were going to talk about Madden 26 launching today, Pete, but I guess you had other plans.
Did I see on your timeline, was there someone that was having you on to interview you? Was it about Madden they were interviewing you about something else?
No, about just whatever tomorrow.
Okay. What was the show? I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah, I was on there he changed the name from Bridge the Gap DFS to now Pick Daddy. Big Pick Daddy. JG all day on Twitter.
I feel like we need more lifestyle DFS pods. You know, it's like I feel like as DFS, you know, it's certainly not exploding. But during the like even, you know, Neil's show Playing for Keeps, getting those long form interviews with players and stuff like that. Obviously, we try to do a good bit about it around here, but we need more of that.
Well, we talked about this, Pete, before. It's hard to keep that content mill churning when you're just doing like interviews. And it's like after you do like 20 of them, you're like, uh-oh, who do I do next? And how many times can I ask the same guy to come back on? And it gets kind of hard to keep content out.
Yeah, and I always think of Joey Ingram's Poker Life podcast, and you know he did that for I don't know how many years, where he was regularly bringing on relevant people from the poker world, players, both whales and sharps and stuff like that. But it seemed like he had almost like a never-ending, well of players to tap into that just like doesn't exist for DFS. I feel like you could go years interviewing new poker players at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Because you got the old school guys and anyone who new pops up. You really could. He was pretty it's hard to like know exactly everyone's, someone's content schedule, but I thought he was pretty like intermittent. So like he'd have like an interview like once every month, or sometimes he'd be off for months.
He like got more and more sporadic as the years went on, and then took some really long breaks. But there was a period there where he was like churning out podcasts. Like I remember he even did a DFS week. Like he had Levitan, Bales, Jennings on, like all within the span of a week. Like there was a period where he was going hard. I still see him pop up a little bit. But yeah, he doesn't do much with his YouTube channel. I mean, he had, arguably one of the most popular channels in poker outside of the vlog style stuff, and I don't know, pursuing other things, I guess.
Do you hear? I mean, he's in Vegas. It makes me think. I know. Like one of my buddies moved from here to Vegas to work for like a year or two in his 20s back in the day, and he's like, yeah, you can't live there for too long. Makes me think like Joey might have had a that Las Vegas lifestyle that probably wasn't too great for a brief period there. Did you see like all the criticisms of Vegas lately? Like their revenues like way
empty.
Down.
Yeah. I saw Smiz had a tweet, and then it was like a photo or a video of one of the sports books, but I think it was kind of misleading because it was shot like after hours. So it was like, well, duh, like, there were like cleaning crews in there. There were a lot of people like anecdotally in his mentions out in Vegas saying like, oh, well, no, it was really busy for this, but then yes, historically it's been busier. So I guess I didn't see any hard and fast data. Were you buying that things are really down?
I don't know. I mean, I imagine they are down for a multitude of reasons. I would bet they're down. I don't know how far down. But it's definitely, I haven't been in a few years, but Like like the way I imagined it in the 70s and 80s and stuff, it was probably way more fun.
Yeah.
Like, way better to be a gambler, and they're like they give you so much, it's way more entertaining, so much more free comps and stuff.
Well, and it was more like now we have just a plethora of gambling opportunities at our online fingertips. Like back then, it felt like special, right? Like if you wanted to go gamble, you had to go to Vegas to scratch that itch.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they need to make it that, like an experience. Like the sports books are, I still like watching. I still like going to sports books. Like when I'm in Vegas, there's one here. I think Circo's putting one together. I don't know if they're done yet. Check that one out. But I think nowadays you got to make it more of an experience.
For sure.
It's pretty decent. Wait, what is this one?
This was what Smiz quote tweeted. So he said, Vegas is collapsing. They just lost their way. Too expensive, insane charges on everything. If only I'll only go there if the work has a meeting. This is like a TikTok of like an empty sports book. And then Smiz said, so what's the truth here? I went to Vegas earlier this summer and it was super crowded where we were, but it was a triple threat weekend, 2 major concerts and a jewelry show. And then he asked like if anyone can confirm. And he said, I was there a few weeks ago and it was a ghost town. Even on a UFC pay-per-view weekend, we were able to get dinner reservations anywhere we wanted, and hotels were $50 to $75. Most drivers and locals I talked to said it had been dead.
Well, yeah, who knows? It's still anecdotal, but I mean, I believe it's down. And people, like you said, there's so much more content and sports betting. Not just sports betting is easier from your phone, but there's so much entertainment and attention products that take your attention that,
and
the trip to Vegas isn't as interesting.
Well, and there's more destinations that can compete now. Like, there's casinos in lots of places, and like you could, yes, Vegas is Vegas and it's unique, but like you could be like, we're going to go do a weekend at Tahoe and do a mixture of going to the casino and also doing some outdoors activities and hikes. Like you could have a flavor of a trip and still get your gambling in so many different places now as well, that I feel like it used to be like, if you want to do this, you have to go to Vegas, and now you can do all this shit everywhere else.
Vegas or Atlantic City, basically. And the California poker rooms too was kind of a destination a little bit. The last time I was there was tons of actually no, the second time, like even I went before, ton of like the panhandlers for like the strippers and hookers or whatever. I don't know if you remember, they're trying to give you business cards or
they tried to get you the strip club deals.
Yeah, and then the last time it smelled like pot. It did smell like pot, like pretty much everywhere. Like if you're gonna gamble, it does feel like bullshit that you have to pay extra. Like it's like like you're going to a concert or something, like where you're or a baseball game or sporting event where you're like I'm gonna have to pay to get in and pay for all that stuff. Like if you're gonna gamble, like it feels like you should get some more special privileges before you like burn a bunch of money for them.
And even the traditional sports book experience. So like, as an example, when I was in Arizona in January with my buddies, we went to the Draftkings sportsbook there, and it was like a restaurant bar sportsbook, but then they had like a million kiosks just completely wrapping the outer bit of the entire thing. And you never had to wait in a line. You could walk up right to it. Really nice touchscreen stuff, build your SGPs, do whatever, like get the ticket, just like completely frictionless and easy. Like even at these, like you'll often have to go wait in a line. And I know you can do the app type stuff, but so much of the appeal is like, I don't have to get all my buddies. We all download the app and we all get, situated on there, just being able to walk up to kiosks and fire it off. And I feel like at some of the Vegas casinos, there's a decent amount of friction or lines to even get to the top.
Yeah. And it's not as, where was I at? I can't remember where I watched. Might have been the Venetian. I can't remember the sportsbook we were at, but it's like old. They haven't updated in a while. And it's more like I don't know, like a horse racing degen, what are those horse, like off track sports betting, horse betting, the off track ones. They're kind of, really, they're, no, a girl hasn't gone in there like ever, like type of place. And it's, they need to update it, make it more fun and interesting. And
Yeah.
Have people go there just for the entertainment factor, not just line up like cattle, in like some shitty old seats from like 1985.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, the only thing, my allure, I want to go see a show. I think we've talked about this before. I want to go see a show at the, what's it called?
The dome, the
Sphere.
The Sphere.
Yeah. Which again, it makes sense that that's the draw for me, right? Because that's the new thing. That's the thing I haven't done in Vegas. Everything else is like fairly old hat.
Yeah, like that I could see. Oh, I'm gonna probably have to pay at least $20 to park there, and then go in and watch the show or something. That makes sense. Yeah, but paying like Kiss My Third Leg here is saying $28 for a Subway. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, no. Easy says, saw a tweet that made a good point. It'll die even more in a year or two once corporate bookings and conventions stop showing up, if this is the narrative. That is like those big trade shows drive a ton. What is it, like CES, the Consumer Electronics Show? Those things are huge drivers. Even stuff like NBA Summer League. I don't know if they would ever go away from there. But some of those staples and UFC cards are a big one.
They do. They have football now, though. A lot of people moved from California to Nevada. Oh God! Well, that's why Pete wants to go, Jeff. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Brian, you want to drop everything and meet up in Vegas for a Backstreet Boys?
Yeah, I already have tickets. If you want to meet me there.
I associate everyone going to the Sphere and like dropping a bean or doing mushrooms or something, but I just can't really imagine doing that for a Backstreet Boys concert. I
saw one last week or whatever. They had The Wizard of Oz, and they remastered it with like AI, so it would work in a sphere, so it was virtual.
Did they do the Dark Side of the Moon in reverse thing?
Yeah, you had to drop acid to get in.
Okay.
There's more songs that work with that, by the way. There's more albums that fit that Dark Side of the Moon thing. But people were complaining like they're ruining everything with AI. It's like, well, but it's the Sphere. Like you can't really put just like a flat screen like you're at a movie theater and play The Wizard of Oz. Otherwise, what's the point? Like they had to do something to make it look
special,
like you're there, like the Sphere is supposed to be made for. I don't know. It looked from the brief stuff I saw. I think that's kind of cool. They should do that with more movies.
All right, let's see. Do we have any shots of Backstreet Boys at the Sphere here? Okay, there it is.
Like, what could they? Are they all still alive? The Backstreet Boys?
I believe so. They weren't that old.
No, I think one of them had like a drug problem or something.
I do think like certain bands and certain visual experiences lend itself to the Sphere like way more than others, because it really is just saying like we're gonna go do our songs like as if we're out any other outdoor big venue or whatever, and then it's all on the tech or whoever we hired as our like graphics extraordinaire to like make this visually cool and line up with the songs.
Yeah. I wonder who did that for him. That looks
Usher. See it, Backstreet Boys. Yeah, because like it's if the selling point is just like we go and everybody looks like they're in a spaceship. I mean, I guess that's cool for a few minutes, but then the novelty would wear off quickly.
They elevated them, huh?
Yeah,
risky.
Dude.
They're attached to poles. You see that just in case.
Yeah. Can I show you like one of the funniest back-to-back comments I've ever seen? Black Money goes, Dead & Co was an unbelievable experience. And then a guy I've never seen in the chat in my life with a Dead & Co Miami Dolphins inspired Abby says, lost on these guys. Like we've already been positioned as non-Dead & Co appreciators, and we smoked Greg Versus out to dunk on us.
I saw highlights. I saw highlights of that show. I was thinking Fish would actually be pretty good.
Oh yeah, any of the jam bands with good like psychedelic graphics.
Yeah, especially Fish. Cool. Yeah, they totally get into that, and they wouldn't like hire somebody to do this. They would come up with their own stuff.
They should just build. If Vegas is dying, they should build like 3 to 4 of these spheres and just make it the premier concert destination in the world, and everybody goes to do that.
Yeah. Or just sell the casinos back to the mob. Let them run it. They're going to do a better job.
Yeah, should we just like give? We'll get Billy Walters and some of his cronies. We'll get Brunson, the old school Las Vegas guys, and say, "All right, here are the keys to the city. Reimagine it like it's 1970 again, or whatever."
Right? Yeah, there'll be no more limiting, per se. You won't get limited anymore, but.
You feel like every time I pop in, Pete is on an anti-fish jam band rant. I think I've had like one and a half of these in my entire streaming career, and you're there for all of them.
Man, yeah, I don't know how I feel about jam bands. Because I don't get high, so I think that's a big problem. Like I like some of the Dead's albums, some of their songs. But I don't know. I've gone to the Further Fest. I've gone a decent amount of them. It's fine.
I'm not going to comment anymore. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
Everybody should live their life. Like I said, I would go to a jam band show at the Sphere. I would
do Fish. David, I didn't know Davis loves John Mayer, so now that's like taking John Mayer down another step for me. So like
we can invite. Is he still touring with Dead & Co. Mayer?
Yeah, well, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get to some other, a few different kind of gambling news updates this week here. A bipartisan coalition of 50 attorney generals is calling on the U.S. Department of Justice to crack down on offshore gambling. They want websites blocked, assets seized, and access to banks and payment processors cut off. I mean, this is one of the most classic, like we look behind the curtain of anything that's happening, right? With legislations lobbying, and it's these deep pocketed above onshore casinos that are pulling these strings. Obviously they want to get rid of offshore gambling.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised I'm assuming this has been going on no, it doesn't actually. Like it's the camel's nose thing again, Pete, right? Where they just get in there, and then eventually stand up and blow the whole tent off. And so this is just another piece in that line of how politics works for any industry that's worth it. The small industries, for some reason, they tend to leave those alone a little bit. But yeah, gambling.
Yeah. So what do you got? So the casinos, we're going to start taxing you, pass along the tax. But then when you're having to pay tax on your bets, don't go run to the offshore books, because we're going to block those too. And we want you to come play at our site and be high volume. But if you're good enough, we actually don't want you to play, and we just want you to spend a little amount. So we just have to find the narrowest needle to thread to find the Goldilocks zone that makes the casinos happy.
Right. And no mention of the saving the gambling addicts either. Actually, this is a perfect example of where they would use that logic. Now it becomes useful because they're not regulated, Pete. They're not trying to help the gambling addicts like we are. So that's why this is here, to help the little guy, to help the poor gambling addict, not to siphon off the competition.
And they kind of hint at it, all the seedy activities that happen offshore, fraudulent schemes, problem gambling, money laundering, and other criminal activity.
Yeah, that doesn't happen here.
Never.
Inland, only offshore.
Yes. This kind of goes back to when we've talked about like crypto and stuff too. It's like, well, the government can't shut down Bitcoin, but they can shut down Gemini and Coinbase and all of the on-ramps, off-ramps. I'm trying, like, what would they be able to do? Because yes, some of these sites allow you to deposit via credit card, but like if an offshore is going to have a crypto only deposit thing, like how would they possibly enforce that element?
I don't think they could, but they could do like the same thing they do with like the guy who runs what's that? It's like a Discord Telegram. The Telegram guy, they got him in France. Like he landed in France and then they just arrested him at the airport. So like you could arrest the CEOs if you really put time and effort into it. I wish I could remember. I can't remember what it was, but it was somebody, somebody getting arrested by the FBI. And I was like, isn't there isn't there like people dying? Or maybe I even said it on this show. Like, isn't there people dying out there? Why are they spending their time on this? And like, so this would be an example of if they went after these offshore companies, because you can't get the citizen really in this, right? It's just you'd have to spend too many resources to enforce this. So you go after the companies, but then if they're offshore, there's less you can do. And so they go after the banks where they could transfer the money, but maybe through Coinbase. Now, something like that, you could possibly go through there, but you really want to. But anyways, point being is like they only have so many resources. Do we really need
to spend them here? To
spend whoever is doing this, FBI or whatever, on the gambling industry? So like DraftKings saves a few bucks. Is that really where we should be spending this money? And their answer, of course, is going to be yes, and they will spend that money, not to like protect you and your children, but to get the bookmaker CEO.
Yep. The other, what do we have? A couple other stories here. Let's do the DraftKings says they continue to keep an eye on federally regulated prediction markets. So we've been talking about these with the Kalshis of the world, and they are actively exploring ways to enhance shareholder value through this opportunity. AKA, if these other companies are finding loopholes that are cutting into our business, we will also very seriously look into said loopholes.
Yes, that right. What do you mean by keeping an eye on here? So there's three options, right? I think three broad options. Maybe there's more, but make your own, buy into another one, or try to regulate them away. Regulate your competition away. Basically, those are the three options. What is
this is why you said the prediction market should try to stay as far away from the traditional gambling stuff as possible.
Even Polymarket's like really going after this green dildo shit in the WNBA. And although it's funny, it's like, yeah, but don't bring more attention. I know like they need attention because they're a company and that's like viral marketing or whatever they're trying to go after. But it's like, don't piss off the powers that be.
You're saying this kind of bet, you can now bet on what the color of the next dildo thrown on an NBA court will be. You're saying that isn't the best publicity.
Yeah, Polymarket tweeted out something like, "There's been more bet on which dildo's thrown out than the actual WNBA game."
I believe that.
Yeah.
Bet. And this guy says the same thing. This is precisely what Polymarket and other prediction markets should not be doing. These markets are designed to be self-fulfilling prophecies. This guy's for a different reason.
That's different. Fuck that guy.
I thought he was going to go with your point, and then it was a different.
No, I don't care. Like this whole like it's the stock market or something. It's like it's a gambling market. I don't care if somebody bets on themselves and then goes to the game and throws a dildo out there and gets arrested and then wins 15 grand. Like it's not fucking securities fraud. It's a dumb dildo bet, I don't know. I don't give a shit. I think that's what he's referencing. Like, this is exactly we need.
I know.
We're never going to legitimize gambling. It's never going to happen in our lifetimes. So, like, get over it.
Yes. No, and I mean this is a marketing technique ultimately by Polymarket, right? Like this happens. It used to happen with the Super Bowl, right? It would be like, oh, whatever crazy bet like Bovada's like offering, like will Donna Kelsey flash, or have cleavage, and everyone's like, oh, this is so funny. And it goes viral. Like it's a good marketing ploy by Polymarket, but you're saying it's maybe not in their best long-term interest.
Will Travis Kelsey propose to Taylor Swift? And like even some of the classic Super Bowl ones, like how long will the national anthem go and stuff like that. Those, I think most of those are fine. I don't know. I just feel like the whole WNBA dildo thing might be like get political, and then if it gets political, you don't want to be targeted by the other side who wouldn't like that type of rhetoric, and then go, this is why we shouldn't have prediction markets, this is why they're looking for anything, so they'll find something. So that might be Polymarket strategy, since they're looking for anything, it doesn't really matter, which is fair enough. But I don't know. I just want them to stay away far away as they can. But like we just saw that DraftKings tweet, they're not idiots. They're on it. They know what's going to happen. What do you think of those three options, Pete? What do you think if you were CEO of DraftKings? What would you do, and what do you think they're going to do? Those are two different things, obviously.
As far as prediction markets,
what is DraftKings? What is DraftKings? The fourth option is they don't do anything. I think that's very unlikely.
yeah, I think so as well, right? Like if they can't have like an acquisition,
So
I
buy
don't know
Kelce.
I think they would, like, if that was plausible, they would maybe be interested in that.
But they could buy into Kelce.
Yeah. Which is kind of essentially what's going on with this ESPN NFL media partnership, where they're buying in and what I believe it's NFL's getting a stake in ESPN, like equity, like a 10% equity with that, where it's kind of just like this mutually beneficial thing there. I could see that, but it is like, it's a hard spot for DraftKings, right? Because if these everything they're doing is above board and legal, and these prediction markets are in a gray area, would you want to be taking on that kind of risk before like impending lawsuits and all of that stuff?
Well, I think like the calculation too is, do they have to get that, was it the CFTC or whatever license that seems to cost like $130 million? I think it was last time we looked, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't remember the numbers. I feel like they can afford that. So I'm assuming they just would have to get one of those. They could build their own though. They could just have DraftKings predictionmarket.com and it's linked into your DraftKings account. And you can go between the three of them, like Sportsbook, and you can with DFS right now.
And then at what point it's like, are you cannibalizing your own stuff at that point? Like, are you going to have the same markets available on the Sportsbook and in the prediction market side of your business?
Or are you protecting your share that would otherwise leave and go to Polymarket if you don't do it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the most likely one is the regulatory. It's the cheapest.
Yes. And that's been their move.
You're going to be spending it on all this tax stuff and everything and all your lobbying efforts. Although they've had a lot of defeats at the legislative level lately. So maybe they don't want to risk it, but that'll be much cheaper than getting involved.
And that has also been, that's a strategy they're used to employing. Like they know how to run that playbook, like the pulling up the ladder on the legislation, trying to get the monopolies in the states on the licensing, trying to keep out all of the competitors, now voicing the concerns about all of this stuff. So other companies and competition can't grow as fast and keep up.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have arguments too that they can make. Right. So, there's definitely, I imagine it's like 50-50 that either they try to use regulation to screw over the prediction markets best they can, or they make their own / invest in Kelce or whatever. And maybe there's a third up and coming one that they can just buy outright. Yeah. That has a license. I'm not sure there is. There might be a little late to the game too. So if they feel like they're way too late, then I think that increases the chances of them going like, okay, let's call Senator so-and-so our best ally and see if we can get something introduced. Yeah.
It's one of those things where actually there is probably some truth to we're exploring ways to enhance shareholder value through this operation. It's probably just like, we are keeping such close tabs on this that if this becomes an issue, we will be ready to move on it, as opposed to getting hit blindsided when it reaches like a critical mass of popularity.
Yeah. I love the news speak, we're working on ways to enhance shareholder value. It's like, Senator, can we fuck them any way we can? That's what they're really doing.
Exactly. All right. We got another one here. You sent this over. The Dutch had a 7.3% tax increase on gains. America is about to have an even harsher tax that affects losers too. The Dutch online gambling sector's gross revenue was 1.47 billion. That's in euros in 2024, with a tax of 30.5% and a revenue of 448 million. The new 37.8% rate was expected to yield 556 million, which would be a 108 million increase from the rate change. However, A decline in market share of licensed operators due to players shifting to black market operators resulted in a $200 million shortfall, which is like the same thing that we were talking about with this bill and all this stuff. It's like, you think it's going to generate more revenue, but if people stop gambling, it's actually going to be a net negative for what your like actual goal of doing this was.
I should find out that girl who was gave the demonstration for the city of Chicago tax that we we played and tag her in this and find out what her Twitter handle is and go like, hey, genius. What do you think is going to happen when the guy tries to bet $1 and has to pay $1 in taxes? Well, do you think he's more likely to make that bet or less likely? What do you think? Maybe
it's like let's control all of these variables and then massively change this other variable and assume that it'll just play out as if nothing else had been changed.
And this is much less, I don't know, intrusive or less obvious to the bettor than the proposed taxes. The past tax in the big where was the 50 cents tax? Oh, they're all Illinois. Yeah, just the 50 cent one at the state level that got taxed in Illinois, that passed in Illinois, and then the 50 cent additional, the city one that they're contemplating, way more in the bettor's face, the user's face, than just a increased in the taxes like this from 30 to 37. And so you would think that would be even more punitive to the bottom line of what they're going to pull in. And you could tell them all this and they still probably won't even care. They're like, yeah, well, we put it at 40. Let's say it's half that we get half. That's 20 million. That's still plenty. That's good. It's way more than we were making before. And we don't care. They just do not give a shit is the bottom line. So like even tagging this woman, I don't know why I'm suggesting it. Cause it's not like based in logic, like there's no rationale behind this besides gambling bad. We need money. We need money, gambling bad. There you go. Like that's basically the crux of it all.
And the irony being, if you actually lowered, taxes slightly on gambling or something, you would increase it. Like you'd get the publicity. Oh, this is a great place to go and turn over my money.
Yeah. Speaking of logic, I'll try to use it for a second just because for a masturbatory exercise, since there's no point in trying that. It doesn't make any sense in like 2025 to tax gambling like it's 1975 or something. Like it's not a religious thing. People are not as religious they used to be. They're seriously less pious than they used to be. So like the amount of people like as I self-identified in the polls and stuff, I'm saying has dropped, but even the piety levels way less. So it's not about that. None of this has been about helping problem gambling. It's just the old remnant of people, the general person who doesn't know anything about betting is like, yeah, betting bad, that they can get away with this. Like they don't really have any, I guess you could say like people lose money, but that's only if you can't think of this as an entertainment product, which is what it is. And we lose money on entertainment products all the time. So like, there's really no justification. And like someone can say, oh, well, gambling addiction. Like, but that's not there. None of these things address gambling addiction. Not a single one of them.
Well, what do you think? So
no justification.
OA says if it sticks, the Dutch tax, it means they really just consider it a vice tax and don't care if it increases revenue. What do you think? Do you think that the actual goal with these is to increase revenue and they're fucking it up and not thinking it through? Or is it just like gambling bad? We want to make you hurt.
So at the federal level, there are other tweets. I didn't send them to Pete though, where I think Charlie Kirk and like some other big popular like Christian people who are probably way more pious than I was saying about the general public, who just want it because it's gambling bad and it's going to hurt gambling. So it's like a utilitarian perspective. The less people will gamble, therefore less suffering will occur in the world. So I support this tax. The state level people, they don't have the Fed Reserve. They can't print money. So they can't just print money when they go over budget. It's a serious problem at the state and city level. And in Illinois is just a mismanaged state at both levels. and they need money. And so this I do know. Like I know I've talked to people in politics here in Illinois, and it's really they just don't know anything. But they don't know anything about anything. But they especially don't know anything about gambling, especially like we do. And so they have a budget hole, and they needed at the city and state level, and they just did some guerrilla math and go 50 cents times this equals this. There we go. And so, yeah, I think both things can be true there, where one is just the vice tax thing. Like, let's just get less. We just want less of it. There are people like that who exist. I mean, I think that was Bill Frist's position for the UIGEA in 2006, which, did poker in. I'm pretty sure he was just morally against it.
Yep.
It could be cynical. Maybe I should be more cynical with him, and he was bought and paid for. Maybe it was a combination of the two.
Yeah. Let's get to a couple other topics here. I saw you guys put out the video with Shady Advice announcing the portfolio management tool that's now going to be part of the Sim Runner and the Run the Sims tools. Recommend checking out that video with Davis, Shady, and Bric. But what has been the early feedback on the portfolio management tool?
Well, we haven't launched it yet, Pete. Just
I know. I went here to look for it because I saw you guys.
If you go to settings,
if
you go to settings, you can see it'll just be an option that you could click on the right side, the checkbox. But it's not functional yet. We're gonna get it functional for the NFL. It's basically it's his code. So all complaints, please send to Shady Advice in Discord or on Twitter. But yeah, so it goes from the golf product goes from here to Dan's code, then that info goes to Shady's code, which is proprietary, then back to here and displays on your screen.
That's funny. I was going to ask you, with your own personal process and before doing all the Run the Sim stuff, did you do anything along these lines as far as portfolio management?
Yeah, I've tried 5 or 10 different things over the years on getting the portfolio, as best as I can. And he has to play coy, I guess. Maybe that's not the right word on what the code actually does. I think he explains it best he can, in the video. And we did a longer video for Endgame and set up in the Run the Sims, which is free Discord, a Shady Discord channel for him in our Run the Sims, so you can ask him more questions. Mm-hmm. But the stuff I tried to do a whole bunch of different stuff. Similarity scores. I would do comparisons of pairing lineups. When this lineup does well, does this lineup go down? You kind of want that. You kind of want that sort of ebb and flow. Portfolio slicing I've done, where it would take groups of 50 or however many of the candidate lineups and then measure the EV and risk in there compared to other sections of portfolios. And then you could graph out. Another one's a graph out. You could just slice a portion from a graphed out, where you'd have 2 data points from your sim. You need a sim to do all this stuff basically, but there's a whole bunch of different ways. And there's, some classic, formulas that stockbrokers have used over the years and stuff that you could try. There's a ton.
How does it? I mean, we had talked about this a couple years ago when we were getting in the weeds on kind of some best ball portfolio management. We were using the examples of taking 2 sides of a divisive backfield where you're not actually just making a bet on one. And it's half your portfolio will benefit. If you think there's going to be a clear winner in a backfield and you don't know which of the 2, it's not just you fade the one you feel slightly better about, but building a portfolio that can benefit from either one of those outcomes happening. I'm curious, how do you think about that, because obviously with the DFS single slate, it's like a fixed thing. You have time to build and manage that, as opposed to best ball. Like, your portfolio is this living, breathing thing that is quite literally changing every time you do a draft. Do you find that, like, conceptually, is that easier for portfolio management if you can kind of adjust as you go? Or do you think it's easier when everything's like fixed on a single slate?
I don't know what's easier. That's a good point. Because in my mind, I was thinking it's great for best ball because you could just use your brain and do it live, where you can go,
Yeah.
where you go, I have a ton of this guy. If he doesn't play, this guy benefits, and he's sitting right here, and it's a tie break decision. Why not take him? And you can't really do that with DFS. But then also the problem with that is using your brain is it gets lost in the weeds a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what would be
the pitfall I was thinking about that I think is easier to do on a single DFS slate. Say you are like trying to look for 150 lineup set, is like an example. So at the beginning of the year, I was drafting this rookie wide receiver on the Broncos a lot, Pat Bryant. I've kind of like cooled off. I'm like, I think it's a little too much. Started drafting these other guys. But there's also this element of the teams I draft later in the year, they're going to have more information. They're going to be better teams. They're just going to project better because I'm taking less risks. I have more info on depth charts and injuries and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so if I polarize exactly how I'm balancing that out, I'm not necessarily accomplishing what I want, because in a perfect world, I'd like those Pat Bryant shares spread out over my May lineups, June, July, and August. Mm-hmm. Whereas in practice, it's like, oh, they were all in May and June, and now I want to chill out on that exposure, but I'd actually like the diversity across my full 150 set and not just my first 60 lineups.
Yeah, that's true. I guess in best ball, doesn't it kind of, not fully, but mitigate that a little bit because of the playoffs? Because you'll get a new pool versus if those lineups, the Bryant ones make it. Like it's not foolproof, obviously, but at least there's that where that doesn't happen in DFS. That's a real good point. I don't even know. It might even be some of these calculations might just be really hard to pull off.
Yes.
That's a good
insight. The other thing for people who are maybe a little bit confused about what we're talking about, another way to think about it, because I remember you saying this, and I think Shady said it too, like when you see someone who litters the leaderboard, like they have 7 of the top 10, you actually, your gut is to say like they're playing bad. Where they're way too heavily concentrated in a way that they're cannibalizing their own EV with too many similar lineups, even though they were right, even though they hit on that thing, like long-term, you're going to brick out way more than you succeed.
Yeah. That's going to be like a huge benefit of this tool, is minimizing cannibalization. Like that's a huge portion of it, not just lowering your risk, but minimizing your cannibalization. So yeah, if you can, yeah. So like that would be like combos, which is what we talk about a lot with using like the Draft Caddy tool, is looking at the combos, especially if you're top whatever drafted players, because like if you think like if you're sweating a whatever best ball or DFS tournament and you are up top, like what are likely the lineups? What do they look like? The lineups that are next to you at the top, probably pretty similar. Yeah. Right. And so if you are one of the people who has the very similar lineup, you both can't take first, or you could, but it's so top heavy, and second and third, the drop is so low, so large that you can cannibalize a lot of your EV. But also you don't want to get too risky in your diversification and start putting in shitty lineups and just lowering your overall EV. So it's a give and take.
Yep. Yeah. And that's why, like, what do you think? Because again, like you kind of hinted at with my first kind of example, was the way the pods kind of weed things out and mitigate that. How do you feel about that for just like overall stances? Someone has 50, 60% of a player, even if they would be very lucky to get one share of that player to the week 17 finals. Like, I guess, how do you think about portfolio management from a best ball perspective, where there is a weeding out of lineups? Even a heavy stance isn't going to make it all the way to the finals.
I don't know. I don't think that changes anything really. Like
Yeah.
You're increasing your risk when you do something like that. I don't think there's a difference. If you do 80%, I don't know, Bo Nix, whoever we're looking at right in front of us, you are increasing your risk dramatically. No way around it. Now, I do think though that if for some reason you're just in a bunch of drafts where I don't know, name your player drops, Brock Bowers drops, but 10 spots for some reason in a bunch of drafts you're in, you should have more. You should have more than you otherwise would have, regardless
Right.
of combos and stuff, because it's just in best ball, it's just too valuable. Unless, of course, your Brock Bowers projection's shitty, but we're assuming that you have faith in your projections. Like if you go to the 3-man stats,
Yeah.
let's see who. I don't know how you can. Okay, so the highest is CD, Dak Prescott, and Ferguson.
Yeah, all of these top ones here are all teammate double stack. So like these at least make sense.
Yeah.
I'm seeing where I can find the first one that would feature a player from a different team here. And I'm still scrolling. Almost all of these are the same team. I'm
Who
still
is Jay
scrolling.
Noel on the Texans?
That's my guy, Jalen Noel, the rookie, third
Oh,
round rookie they drafted. Oh, here's one. Here's our first one. For some reason, Breece Hall is paired with Brian Thomas and Trevor Lawrence. And this one makes sense because Brian Thomas goes at the 1-2 turn and Breece Hall goes at the 3-4 turn. So Brian Thomas drafters are often taking Breece Hall because they need a running back when it comes back around. And then because they like to stack it up, then later in the draft, they get Lawrence. But this one is purely driven. There's no playoff correlations, etc. It's just ADP correlation driving that.
And you probably could have solved that with just the two of them. Like if you go to the 2-player combo and then search Hall.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see what Hall's highest ones are.
All right, we'll let this refresh here. This, by the way, guys, we're in the Chrome extension for the Draft Caddy.
You might need to page
that you can get via the in-game syndicate. So when I draft and you see I have the matchups and my current BBM exposures, I'm using these overlays here. You can see here I have underdog exposures, week 16 opponent, week 17. But then there's this underdog best ball ownership tab. And you can look at ownership for 2-player combos, 3-player combos. And so we are just going through some of those right now and seeing which ones are interesting.
Or individual combos. But those can matter now too as we get closer for those 16, 17, 18th rounders. We talked about this last year, Pete, where if like you otherwise wouldn't care, assuming your projection for two of these players is about the same, and you're at the end of a draft and one guy's getting picked 100% of the time, the other guy's getting picked to 60% of the time, and you don't care about anything else, you take the 60% guy. So it might be worth to put the ownership, because you can overlay the individual ownership next to the player's name.
Yep. Yeah. And that's definitely a good point too, as we enter this portion of the season. So there you go. That is crazy.
Yeah.
The number one 2-player ownership for Breece Hall. It's not a New England Patriot who they play in week 17. It's not a Jet on his teammate. It's the 2 players who are tethered to the 1-2 turn, Brian Thomas and Nico Collins. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is the third one. All 3 of those guys are like ADP 10, 11, 12, right? And then Breece Hall goes, what is it, pick 36 or whatever. So that's really interesting.
So if you're on that turn right there with that, and those 2 players are available, but there's other players who are equal in value to you for, like, let's assume, forget like week 17 and stuff like that. It's just an easy pivot where you don't lose any EV because you think they're all about the same. And you are going to be playing against less combos, generally speaking.
And you know what's funny too? All these other guys, man, Olave and Rome, those are the guys behind him at the 5-6 turn, who the receivers that go there. So again, Breece Hall drafters being exceedingly tethered to the available wide receivers surrounding them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just on Underdog today. I'm like, I got to rip some of these drafts. We're starting to get to where the data's nice and juicy now. You could act on this stuff pretty easily.
No, I've been feeling the same way where it's like I have all these guys that I've been trying to get the right price on, get the CLV. I'm like, I think this guy's going to dip. And it's like, well, it's go time. I mean, it's August 7th. We are the drafting window is rapidly closing. And now's when we have the information to act on.
Is there any pivots? Do you have any portfolio pivots for like Addison or Rashid Rice, or guys who will benefit in case, like, well, Rice they haven't given him his sentence yet, right? So like, could be 4, could be 8.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of was fortunate because I had been mostly fading those guys. I really like Addison as a player, but I'm just like, the second this suspension hits, even though we know it's coming, he's going to drop a full round. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm clicking him basically anytime I'm on the clock because I'm making up for lost time and getting the better price with it. The Rashi thing. So it's Jefferson's the one.
They Naylor?
Naylor would be like the third wide receiver. They also drafted a guy named Ty Felton. Hawkinson is kind of the other big beneficiary if Addison's out. Yeah.
Okay.
But again, like, Best Ball Mania, 3-week suspension, like first 3 weeks of the season, very unimportant. It's also when your team is relatively healthy. There's no buys. Like, I think you can pretty easily withstand a 3-game suspension. And it's like, when someone's injured, that's also different, right? Because it's like they come back. Are they healthy? Do they re-aggravate it? Does it take time to ramp up? Like, he's going to be fine. He's going to come right out. It's not an injury and just start playing. So I'm not too spooked about him.
He's a veteran. He knows the playbook, etc.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, so Lou had asked us to bring up this. Our friends over at ShipIt have an idea that they are doing called the ShipIt Games. They're giving 77,000 cash prizes, 50 golden ShipIt tickets available. Of course, you got to be a member. 3 chances to win each week. If you win a ShipIt ticket, you advance to a final 50 playoff in week 17. Top 10 from week 17 advance to play for the biggest prizes. So they're finding ways to incentivize subs by becoming part of this contest. Pretty interesting idea there to drive some interest.
Was this what he tweeted out? That was the big news.
It must be.
Yeah.
It must be. I've been enjoying following Tambo because he's like building this really sick, like barn office. I don't even know what you would call it. And I've been enjoying seeing, although I don't see it.
He tweets a lot. You can't even get to it.
I
thought the big news was going to be they were going to run Pure Sports.
Dude.
And Hoop would have fired Big T.
It's so funny you say that because just today, I go in and in my YouTube studio app and I respond to comments from recent shows, and occasionally people respond to really old shows. And this one guy has been going back through and watching the old RPS, ShipIt, Hoop shows and like leaving all of these comments. And he's like really worked up about all of it and referencing things that were said in the Discord. And I'm like, wow. I mean, that was almost like, was that 2 years ago at this point?
At least,
we did all
right?
That? Yeah.
At least that's funny.
They do. I will say, I mean, I shout out to the people that still can just have it in them to like be tweeting nonstop. I don't know how. I just get tired when I think about it, man.
Yeah, he's grinding it. How do you feel about?
There it is.
There it is. Finally.
How do I feel about what?
How do you feel about the like the balance between not like work life or anything like that, but just it seems like Twitter punishes you for promoting stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Like it feels like not just in the tweet, like later tweets. Like if you tweet, lulls in 15 minutes, here's the link. Of course, you're not going to get the engagement. Everyone knows that. But I feel like even the next tweet, or the tweet after that, they're still like, we're not going to, this might be another follow-up from that other tweet. We're going to minimize that one too.
I agree. I think you have to like volume posts. Like, I think there's like this tipping point of like, you like earn it in the algorithm of just like, you do 7-8 tweets a day without a bunch of links. And then if you occasionally mix in a link, the algorithm's like, all right, we'll let this one slide through. Like you could earn that one. But if you're just even doing the like tweet link to it thing, like they're just like, no, we know you aren't grinding the shit posting on here. It definitely is like that, because the people who get all the engagement are tweeting constantly and the algorithm saying, good boy, you did it. Here's some more impressions.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Because you would think the opposite would be like, I'm just doing it once in a while,
make it count.
Yeah. But no, they hurt you. Like,
for sure. Like, I think it'd be interesting to do a big, like, I think if there was an account, like this would just be my gut. If there was an account that had 1 million followers, but posted once a year versus an account that had 10,000 followers that posted all the time. And then you said, all right, here it is. You each get one tweet. Whoever gets more engagement wins, $1 million prize. I'm going to take the 10,000 account guy every single time. That's been priming the algorithm with nonstop tweets, even though the other person has an audience that's 100x the size.
Okay. Huh. Okay. So we've been doing everything wrong.
Oh yeah. No, you got Adam, Ship My Money. He tweets a lot. Like he's getting the algorithm.
It's true.
Davis is tweeting a lot these days.
Yeah. That's true. What about YouTube? You think the same? Well, I guess YouTube's different. Data.
YouTube's different. It definitely still rewards volume, but I think length and quality can both offset volume. On a site like TikTok's way more like Twitter. Like you just have to just pump content into that algorithm. All the people who grow, every one of them says the same thing. Like I was posting 2 to 3 videos a day for like a year straight.
There's not that much to say.
I know. That's why so much content is just lifestyle vlogging, right? Because it like takes the pressure off of like, there's like literally this kid. I think I've talked about him before. I was making the joke because he says in every one of his videos, my life as a 23-year-old content creator living in Austin, Texas. And he's been 23 for like 3 years. But it's literally just a vlog of his day. And I've seen a few of them and they're the exact same thing. It's like, I go to work, I go to the gym, I make my dinner, I watch some TV. It's like the same thing, but he's got a big following. People are just like, all right, you're just going to film your life.
That makes absolutely no sense.
Yes.
Yeah. The content churning, it's kind of like goes along with what we were talking about earlier with the DFS interviews show. Like there's only so much you could say. There's only so, I don't know how that guy like, or anyone like him can get that huge following. Cause you need time. I saw someone tweet this out, but it was more about like academics and stuff, like trying to do content. They like can't, cause like a lot of times they'll come out gangbusters with like really good ideas. And like, cause they've been thinking about them for 20 years. Right. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they get popular and then they're like, okay, I'm going to do a podcast. And then it's like, okay, the first ones are good. And then like a year later, it's like the podcast is stale because they need to stop churning out content and playing that game and go back to thinking. Cause it's hard to like have anything insightful to say.
I don't know if I've referenced this before, but this would happen with improvisers where when you start out, you want to get a ton of reps. You're doing lots of practice. You say yes to any stage time you can get. But one of the things that happens is people get so addicted to like getting better at improv, but they're like source material, things to draw from when you're on stage. You're like pulling from different references. You go to a museum, you saw a movie, like you've interacted with random strangers. Like your well is just depleted. It's like, I have nothing to pull from because so much of good improv is just pulling from experiences in your life. And I've heard coaches like tell players, like, you need to go do some non-improv things. Like you need to refill your cup of ideas because there's nothing left to say there. That's interesting.
Definitely. This is probably why copying is so prevalent. online, like tweet copying, image theft, joke stealing, all, tweet stealing, all that shit it's just like I have to tweet to make the algorithm happy. And I cannot think of anything. My brain is completely empty at this point because I can't take time off.
Yeah. And like, think about that too, for like, I'm obviously now thinking about it from a comedian standpoint, like, for a stand-up, right? Like writing a special is like a big deal. That's kind of like the hallmark. And, it takes a year, 2 years to do it. And then you go tour it. It's like, now they are better off posting a bunch of clips from live stand-up shows and just like going viral on TikTok. Like that'll do more for their career than just like going away and writing for 6 months. It's like, well, now I'm out of sight, out of mind. I'm not feeding the algorithm, even though you're probably working on something that's like a better piece of art that will be more polished or whatever. But the algorithm doesn't wait for anybody.
And I mean, this is ancillary to your point though, but like if you're workshopping in, Albuquerque, New Mexico, like someone can pull out a phone, record your shit and put it on the internet. And now your bit you've been working on is just already out there. It seems to be not happening as much, which is kind of strange that people are being cool about that. But that was bigger like 5 years ago.
You want to know a move that comedians have done to try to combat that?
Where they make them put their phones in the thing?
Well, that too. But they've resorted to a ton of crowd work. So crowd work is a way that you can get unique clips from shows that doesn't cannibalize. That's the theme of today, self-cannibalization, that doesn't cannibalize your own content. Because that's the worst thing. It's like, I have 60 minutes of new material. I want people who pay to see me to do that. But then how do I promote the special without using the clips? Well, you use crowd work, show that you're funny, that you're a good hang. Then when they come, they get all new material.
Yeah, that's another thing too with some of these guys. They start a second podcast, and it's like, what the hell is this one going to be about? Like, what could you possibly talk about? Like, and like speaking about, like, I just saw. I
can't judge having a bunch of podcasts. So that's not going to be for me to throw stones at.
Yeah, right. I just saw this before on YouTube before we went live. Just random, suggestion. Jay Moore has his own podcast. I'm sure you know the comedian Jay Moore, who was on Saturday Night Live. Yeah. And it was like 3 months ago or something. It had 6.7 thousand views. And it's like, man, it's rough out there. I know Jay Moore's not nearly as popular as he used to be. And he got joke theft accusations like a while ago from Rogan and Bert Kreischer and stuff like that. But I don't think that killed. I think he blames that, but and I think he's funny and he's great impersonator and stuff like that. But like, man, that's rough. Like you rip out a podcast with like that sort of name recognition. And you're like 6.7 thousand views. It's like, it's got to hurt.
For sure. Yeah, that had made me even think of too, because I just like Mark Maron is just he's powering down his podcast. I mean, he's one of the he's I don't know if he's done his final podcast yet, but I tuned into a few. He had like Seth Meyers and John Mulaney on, and he had started to reference this is the last stretch. And it was just like him and his producer, they're like, we're tired, man. Like, we've interviewed Barack Obama. We've interviewed every single big comedian. We've circled back and re-interviewed the same comedians. And I don't have anything left to offer here.
That's probably, I could understand that. I would guess the numbers are not worth it as well. Maybe like, he's just not, he doesn't want to try to do what it takes to get those numbers back up. It makes a good point. I'm shitting on Jay Moore without knowing anything about him. Maybe his podcast numbers are really good and his just YouTube channel's not very big. So
and that happens. Yeah, because people focus on one platform, and it's like you can have big spreads. Someone with a massive TikTok following that has small YouTube, or huge TikTok following and 2,000 Twitter followers. Like, ultimately, it's where you spend your time and what you invest in, and where you're going to build that following.
Well, especially with the bigger, older guy like Adam Carolla. I'm sure he's had a feed before YouTube was even a thing, I think. So I imagine that feed probably has a ton of people subscribed to it over the years. And there's just like Adam Curry is like the original podcast guy. He coined the phrase podcast, I think. And he won't do YouTube. So like, Of course, his YouTube is zero, but his podcast, I think, gets like 1 million downloads or something. So depends on when you came into the game too. But it is, the competition, man, is brutal. It is rough out there.
For sure. All right, guys, I am going to head over and do ship chasing with Davis and Pat. We're going to be drafting on the FFPC today, one of their $125 best ball tournaments. If you want to watch that or hop in that draft, there's still some spots. Go check out that video on Run the Sims. I also pinned it in the chat. If you guys are wanting to get your Sim Runner Pass, get situated for the season, you can use that promo code Pete to get your 20% off. I know some people are starting to get
15,
ready to poke
15,
around.
15.
Sorry, 15. Oh my goodness. You can take the extra 5 out of my cut for that.
We have a package fee, $25 a month. It's got the projections, and you can sim up to 5 lineups. But you can download the projections too if you don't even want to use our sim product and use them somewhere else. I think that's about as cheap as you can get out there to get projections in some sim product. Could be wrong.
Beautiful. yes, it's free with promo
60% off, you say?
All right. Thank you guys for hanging out. We'll have the audio up as well if you're catching this late and are an audio listener. We'll always post that over there for you. And otherwise, we will see you guys next time on Lulz. Peace.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.